I mean, it's definitely not trying to be a horror film, but like the scary elements of this movie really did keep me on the edge of my seat.
No!
What's up, YouTube? It's Drive By Movies, and you are watching
Fresh Releases.
My name is James.
My name is Blaze.
And today we're checking out the new movie that hit Amazon Prime, Emergency.
Think about it statistically. How many people actually get shot by the cops? It's like really unlikely, right? What are you talking about?
911, what is the nature of your emergency?
Ready for a night of legendary partying, 3 college students must weigh the pros and cons of calling the police when faced with an unexpected situation. So Emergency is a film that's brand new to Amazon Prime Video. It was also debuted at Sundance this year, so it's pretty quick turnaround from Sundance. I think we've been mentioning how cool it's been lately to just have films that are premiering at Sundance instantly kind of get bought by a lot of these streamers that are trying to fill their services with new content, and then releasing them there within, a 3-month span, or at least within the year. It feels like when, as long as I could remember back, like Sundance, a lot of festivals, like it would take stuff years to get out, like into theaters, and you then have to go to theaters. And if you missed it, then you got to wait another 6 months till it ends up on a streamer or home video or Netflix DVDs by mail, like I used to get. But now it's cool. Like there's a really fast turnaround, and Emergency was one of the really big films I think that a lot of people are talking about in Sundance. So it's cool to see it premiere here on Amazon Prime. James, what'd you think of the movie?
Yeah, I'd say it's refreshing to get movies this way, just because for a while, like we had to rely on like IFC Midnight to purchase these movies straight out of Sundance or what other film festival there is, like South by Southwest. Just one of the two. Those are the ones that I feel like get the more like indie movies where it's like new voices trying to get their name out there. And I'm glad that like Amazon Prime is like putting money towards buying movies like this. And I wish Netflix would do stuff like that, versus some of the original content can be lacking at times. So it's cool to see. This movie I liked it, but it's weird vibe wise though, because it's funny, depressing. Like it reminds me of the song In Too Deep by Sum 41, where I'm just like, these kids are getting in too deep, and I just don't get the vibe of the song is like very upbeat and like catchy, but like the lyrics are dark and depressing, and that's kind of the vibe of this movie for the most part too. What are your initial thoughts?
I wouldn't say like I loved it. I think a little bit of my experience was hampered by the fact that this film is so visibly dark. Like it's basically all shot at nighttime with, it seems like, minimal lights. I mean, I'm sure they had pretty huge lighting setups, but like it just seems like it's pretty dark. It's very hard to see this movie. I was watching it during the daytime, so like if you're not in a theater, literally go fuck yourself. I feel like that's what the filmmakers said to me, because I was just like, dude, I can't see anything right now. I was like, had to close all the freaking blinds like a damn vampire and shit in the middle of the day just to get a view of this movie. But yeah, this is one of those movies where I feel like you need to see it in the theater just so you could see the movie. It's one of those movies that just doesn't really translate well on home video and streaming, so it kind of sucks that it was actually premiered mainly on streaming. I think you can see this film in theaters, but I think the majority of people that are going to be watching this film is probably going to be at home on Amazon Prime Video. And yeah, overall though, talking about the film, that's kind of just the experience that I had with watching the movie. But talking about the film, I liked it for the most part. I think that it juggles a lot of themes going on, which I enjoy. You'll probably see a lot of critics be like, oh, this was a mess, maybe because it juggled too many themes, and like I think it juggled them okay. It didn't juggle them like with ease or tact, but I think it was interesting to bring so many different things to the table while still trying to be somewhat of a comedy. Although this wasn't a film like I felt like I laughed that much. There's a couple scenes where I was actually laughing a lot, but I think for the majority of it kind of masquerades itself as this kind of, it's going to be this super bad style comedy film, or that's what you kind of expect going into. I actually didn't see any trailers, but that's just the vibe I got from reading the synopsis, or reading the synopsis coming out of Sundance even. And it's more along the lines of like more social commentary drama, but it still tries to be like have this kind of silly atmosphere in the background, that not everything kind of is as crazy as it could be, and what the cast is kind of alluding to what it could be. It still has this kind of silly atmosphere to it.
Exactly. I'd say that's kind of what's holding the movie back, because like early on with the movie, I went in completely blind. I just saw the poster that was on Amazon Prime and just went straight in the movie. I didn't really know what was going to happen within the plot of the movie. But like overall, like it starts off as a comedy, just two bros like trying to figure out their party and like what they're going to do for the night. And I wasn't really too into that and stuff. Like I just thought like the best friend character was a little obnoxious. Like nothing against the actor RJ Seiler. We've seen him in I thought he was one of the better parts of The Harder They Fall, and I thought he was great in Me and Earl and the Dying Girl. Like I brought that up in our review of The Harder They Fall, and he does as the movie goes, like I start to appreciate his character much more and stuff too. But the comedy just wasn't really funny. I thought what works best is the dramatic moments and the social commentary. Unfortunately though, a lot of the dramatic moments I've seen really recently. Like I literally just watched Superbad like not that long ago. It was that movie that I grew up with in high school and stuff. I just felt like rewatching it, so I scratched an itch with watching that, and then just seeing this movie not much longer after that, with just like the whole conversation of like, you're going away to college and stuff. How do I tell them? We can't keep this a secret. Like all those conversations, I literally just watched it in another movie. Like granted, Superbad's over 10 years old now and stuff, so like by all means, like a lot of movies are inspired by something. Not saying it's directly taken from Superbad, but watching that, and then also just watching The Kid Detective. We just reviewed it a few weeks back. Spoilers with this movie, but it's literally the same exact ending as that. I don't think this movie was ripping it off, but it's the same exact thing. PTSD kicks in for our main character, and it ends with the final shot of them like Kid Detective bursts into tears. This movie bursts into a panic attack and stuff. Like same exact ending kind of. And I'm not saying it's a ripoff. It's just like it sucks that I watched this movie after seeing both those movies. So like the dramatic elements, which I appreciated the most, just didn't hit hard for me because I watched it after watching two very similar movies recently. Not similar movies, but just similar scenes, I guess you could say.
Yeah, they definitely had similar elements to them, but this movie does feel like an amalgamation of many different kind of movies, themes that you've seen in other places, and it seems like all those other places kind of did them better than this film, and I think that that's kind of mainly what this film suffers from. I don't think that this film overall is like a bad movie because it's only an amalgamation of other things. I just think it suffers from the fact that, okay, I've seen all these kind of elements or scenes or scenarios in other films that either went all the way, where this kind of was dipping its toes into, it still wants to be a comedy. It's not that funny, but it wants to be a serious kind of social commentary as well. But then it's still got this silly element to it where the social commentary stuff still doesn't even feel like it's living in the same world as the comedy film. So I don't know. I felt like they did juggle a lot, but at the same time, I felt like they were almost juggling too much, that they were saying a lot without actually saying anything.
No, I completely agree with that. Yeah. Like, I mean, it's directors. No, it's actually not their debut film. I saw that they did a modern day retelling of Romeo and Juliet, actually, starring RJ Seiler as well too. But I didn't even know that movie existed actually. So I'm like curious how that movie is. But overall, like there's just like a lot of scenes. Like this movie like kept me on the edge of my seat watching it on my couch. I was like, oh god, what was gonna happen? It did feel like a horror film, like watching like it's like, seeing Get Out, like the social commentary with that movie and it being a horror film but comedy. I feel like that balanced it out pretty well. Whereas this movie, like, I mean, it's definitely not trying to be a horror film, but like the scary elements of this movie really did keep me on the edge of my seat. And I'm nervous for these kids, just because, I know they mean by best intentions and everything. I guess some of the better moments I liked in this movie is catching people who claim to not be racist, but they actually are. Like the couple that is living in a house, they have the Black Lives Matter poster, and then of course they're being Karens and recording them being like, this is a safe neighborhood, like get out of here and stuff. Like that element, I liked that commentary. And then also with the girl trying to save her sister, like she's driving me crazy the whole movie, and I'm glad that her best friend and the frat guy, like they seem like the stereotypical bad friend. He's like a piece of crap frat guy, but they're actually just trying to help, and then they call her out on her crap towards the end of the movie. And I like the ending of this movie of the main character just slamming the door on her apology and stuff too, just because, like, you know, it could have been there were a lot of times I was screaming like, just do this, guys, it would work out better if you did this. But I understand in the moment they're freaking out, they're high, they're drunk, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that maybe I feel like I was a little harsh on the movie, but I do think that this movie is getting, like, kind of everywhere I could see it felt like it's getting like really rave reviews. But I do feel like it was trying to do something maybe more, maybe overpromised on what it was than what it actually was, I guess, essentially. There's a lot of funny elements to like in this movie. Just having, it seems like it's been a minute since we've gotten that like college style movie. And while this film does stray away from being that, obviously, it still has some elements to it. Like when he goes to his brother's pad, and I think that was the scene that made me crack up the most. When he goes to his brother's pad and like his brother's saying he's on parole, is like all his friends just playing like video games in the living room, and then they find out that this girl's underage and run out, like they just leave the house. They just leave their own house. Like that cracked me up, because I was like, that seemed very realistic response to what was being laid on them. Like, I don't want anything to do with this, especially if any of them were on parole. Like they're just out of there. That I thought seemed like it to be an original comedic scene somewhat, and that was like the funniest scene for me, so I was cracking up at that. Like that was hilarious.
Yeah, no, there were definitely some moments that still worked for me, but just like, it's one of those movies where it's just like a fine balance. Like it's kind of seesawing on both ends, but just playing it straight and keeping it safe by staying like even, where I would have liked to have seen it kind of lock towards one side versus the other and stuff too. Like, you know, probably the safer choice to stay that way, but I think movies like this have a better chance of being remembered if they, like, you know, go full pull towards one side, I guess you could say. But yeah, overall, like, you know, this movie does work. I'd say it's a solid watch. It's just like missed the mark of being one of the better movies of the year when I feel like it could have had that potential, I'd say. So, you know, let us know what you thought about it. Like, are you feeling the same way? It seems like a lot of people do like this movie, but is it going to make your end of year best list? Let us know in the comments below. You can watch the movie on Amazon Prime now, or you can check it out through our Amazon affiliate link in our description box below.
And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and click the notification bell to get all our latest updates.
And if you can't get enough of us here on YouTube, be sure to catch all our social media links down below with Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Anyways, guys, that'll conclude this week's episode. Tune in next week for a brand new video.